And I'm now going to introduce our next speaker, which is Ashley Pettifer. And Ashley is from the Peel Community Benefits Network in her capacity as Director, Client Experience and Operations with Rael Strategy Group. Ashley is the Project Manager, Communications of Digital Engagement Specialist and Stakeholder Engagement Lead for the Peel Community Benefits Network. Ashley is committed to supporting vulnerable populations in the Peel region to access meaningful and sustainable employment, and is proud to be part of the Peel Community Benefits Network. So welcome, Ashley. Over to you.
Thanks, John. I'll just wait a quick minute for the slides to pop up, but as they do want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this morning. I think it's, as we're having conversations around procurement and the Hurontario LRT, it's critically important that we do bring that community lens as well and talk about some of the populations that are impacted by the work. So we really appreciate the opportunity to be here this morning. So slides are up, so great. So we can go to the next one, please. So we just wanted to give you a little bit of a snapshot about the region in general to kind of start things off this morning. So this is all based on the 2016 census data. But as you can see, Peel is an incredibly diverse population. It is one of the larger ones within the province, of course, and it's definitely home to major urban centers. And so, when we kind of look at this data and what it really shows for us is that there is a tremendous amount of opportunity to really create even bigger lines of employment pathways for populations in our community who are diverse or, are incredibly highly marginalized. And so that's one of the things, as you'll see as we move into the slides around PCBN, is as we talk about some of the barriers to employment very shortly, is around diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so it's important that as we're looking at the population and the demographics of this community, that we are really bearing that in mind as important projects and like large infrastructure projects are continuing to move forward in the region. So as we go to the next slide, just for those of you who might not be familiar with who Peel Community Benefits Network are, we are actually an initiative and a collaborative that was born out of the Peel Poverty Reduction Strategy Committee and United Way Greater Toronto. And so you would have heard Anne Jameson earlier this morning. I know she asked a question. She is one of our wonderful co-chairs who works with United Way of Greater Toronto. And then we also have Sonia Pace, who works with the region of Peel. And the whole idea is to really look around community benefit agreements and make sure we're really taking a 360 view, if you will, to ensure that we are looking at different populations, opportunities for social enterprise, and really making connections and really helping to convene different parties to make sure that as a whole, our community is being lifted through large-scale infrastructure projects. So on our next slide, we wanted to share a little bit around some opportunities that we see that do exist here, and certainly the biggest one being around employment. And a role for us is to really look at where is there economic opportunity for populations and a lack thereof potentially, and really see if we can help to make some connections around hiring, pipeline, and recruitment. And then certainly you've heard a lot this morning already around procurement, and as we look to that from the social lens to see if there are opportunities for social purpose enterprises to play a role in these projects as well. And then lastly, looking around community and social improvements. And certainly, projects like the LRT, this certainly has an environmental component to that. And also just looking around the community perspective as well to see, are there targeted communities or neighborhoods where we might be able to play a bit of a stronger role in helping to support maybe some of the challenges that might be experienced as a result of some of the projects. So on the next slide, you'll see the one slide we do want to focus on a little bit more today is around the employment pathways. And so what you'll see here is there's 3 different streams that PCBN is really focused on here. So the first, as you'll see at the top there, around social enterprise. And so, are there opportunities for print shops or caterers or car washes, et cetera, to be able to be connected to, our partners, in which we have had some success with MobileLinks and Metrolinks, certainly, around creating those pipelines there. And then as we look at PAT jobs as well, really looking around some administrative roles, financial roles for populations that can help support some of those back-end pieces. I think this is a pathway often forgotten. I feel like when we're talking around, large scale infrastructure projects, there's a lot of back end work that needs to happen there, or, engineers and architects are obviously very involved in those processes. And, there are many people, particularly within Peel region, that have these skill sets and backgrounds that are looking for opportunities to be able to access projects like this. And so we do have a strong focus on our PAT jobs as well. And then lastly is obvious, and probably most obvious, is around the apprenticeships. And so really looking to help individuals who are looking to access long-term sustainable employment, really looking at that through the construction trades as well. So one of the big activities that we had the opportunity to participate in was, for us, it's great that we're kind of talking about these things and wanting to create these pipelines and supporting marginalized populations, but we really want to make sure that we're hitting the nail on the head, if you will. And so as we were chatting about, planning for the trade show today, thought it was really important for folks who are on the line to have a bit of an understanding around what some of the barriers to employment, particularly in the skilled trades, that our folks are seeking. And so PCBN undertook a bit of an engagement exercise, and we conducted surveys, key informant interviews, and focus groups with job seekers and employment providers within the social service sector. And we wanted to share with you kind of the 5 biggest barriers that really came to light as a part of these exercises. And the hope in sharing this is that it provides a new viewpoint and perspective for folks on the line. And as you're continuing your work, to really bear these pieces in mind and consider what the implications of some of these may be in your work and where there might be opportunities to maybe make a few tweaks, if you will. So on the next slide, we've got the first 3 that you'll see listed here. The first, really looking around training. One of the biggest pieces we heard was around, really having access to tools, resources, equipment, and just information on different training opportunities to help individuals really get their foot in the door with respect to a skilled trade. The next we heard was around access to just information in general, like where can I find employment opportunities, particularly for youth or newcomers to the community, which, as you would have seen at the top of my presentation, it's more than a significant portion of the population of Peel region. And so really looking to see if there's opportunities to make stronger connections here. And then resources for job seekers, really to help, some of the feedback that we've heard for some of the resumes and that have gone forward to our partners is around, there's some work that needs to be done in this space. And so one of our focuses as a result of the outcomes of this engagement work is to really look around, resume writing and English language training, understanding job requirements. What does it mean to be part of a unionized environment? Things like that. And so those are the first 3. And then on the next slide, the last 2 that we really heard was around employer relationships and really just being able to make connections with key contacts, to be able to find ways to get their foot in the door with respect to saying, I'm here, this is, these are the skills I bring to the table. Is it possible to have an opportunity or a conversation to talk about potential employment with a particular company? And so that one came through very loudly through all the engagement work that we did. And then the last piece was really around diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly in the construction industry. And looking about, some of the systemic barriers that may still exist, such as racism. And one of the larger ones that really came around was a lack of opportunities for neurodiverse individuals. So as you can see here as an example, individuals living with intellectual disabilities. And so, as I said, so these are, I would say, the 5 largest barriers that really came through as we were doing this engagement work. And certainly something that we wanted to make sure that we brought forward to this illustrious group of folks around the table this morning. To really, if it's not something we're aware of, to provide some opportunity for awareness raising for you. And as I said, previously, to really, for us, our hope is that, these will be pieces that'll be taken into consideration in each of your roles moving forward through the work that you're doing. So we have just a couple of slides left, folks. So thank you for your time today. So just to kind of sum up our role for you at PCBN. So one is certainly around promoting community benefits. I think, it might be something that might seem a bit overwhelming at folks and, kind of adding on to your work potentially, but it plays such a fundamental role in the lives of the people that it would be impacting. And so for us, we want to make sure that everyone knows what a community benefit agreement is and that we do create access to opportunities to have conversations with employers, with the community, with job seekers, for everyone to kind of understand what those are and to look at increasing the number of CBAs that we do have signed within the region. And then also around coordination of employment pathways, as I shared earlier. And then lastly, just as I'm sure hopefully came through, is that, we really play a role as a convener and a collaborator. And we really want to make sure that we're creating strong connections and strong relationships within our region across sectors so that we together can make sure that we're lifting up the community so it can be the best that it can be. And just on the last slide here, if you are interested in more information, we have revamped our website to really act as a one-stop hub for folks that might be seeking employment, that are employers looking for more information, and to provide some information around updates and events and things like that. So we do encourage you to head to pcbn.ca for more information. And then certainly happy to answer any questions today, but if anyone would like to connect further, we do really welcome you to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to have a conversation to talk about community benefit agreements in our community.
Wow, thank you, Ashley. What a wonderful role and service that you guys provide. So thank you for that. It's a wonderful thing. And I did have one question. And by the way, again, folks, you can enter your questions into the Q&A or into the chat or raise your hand. But I was thinking a little bit, especially given the mobile link situation here, about apprenticeships. And what are some of the things you're seeing as far as opportunities for young people to get involved in the trades? Because clearly in the GTA, there's so much construction and building and things going on over the next few years. Any thoughts on the apprenticeship tracks?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say first and foremost, the thing that jumps out is that for a long time, I think there was a real stigmatization, particularly in more diverse communities, that accessing a career in the trades was not the right way to go. It wasn't sustainable, it wasn't lucrative. And obviously, it speaks for itself. I mean, it's such an incredible pathway, right, for folks. And so for us, I think, some of the things that we're seeing is, more education in high school, post-secondary institutions, critically important to really open people's eyes, and really looking for different opportunities in terms of like webinars and education across the region and across the community to really help people know it's a thing, right? And to know it's a great place to go and to really understand the benefits. And we're so fortunate to have around our table, we do work with the Ontario Building Trades, the Ontario Building Tradeswomen. So some of those relationships that we have are also kind of helping to spread the word and provide some education around apprenticeships. And so certainly, and then I would say the other piece to that we're seeing is that it is a conversation coming up more and more with some of the social service employment providers within the region as well. More questions are certainly being asked around that, which is actually the impetus for some of the engagement work that we did. So I think the conversation, and Anne, I know you're on the line, so if you want to add, hop in, please. I think it's something that we are hearing more and more about, certainly. And, for us, we're pleased to be able to play a role to make some connections to, different potential employers, organizations like CTAO, Ontario Building Trades, et cetera, to really help kind of open some lenses, if you will, and really let people know it's a great way to go in terms of employment.
Excellent. And Denise McClure from the city of Brampton had written in the chat that it is surprising many young people just don't know how well they can do, how prosperous it is to be in the trade. So anyway, thank you again for such a wonderful service that you guys provide, and just really amazing.
Great, thank you. It was lovely to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, and we appreciate you being here.